Hello and welcome back to Speculation Alley. It is me, ABOMB, and with my legendary brother from a different mother and co-host Cryptodilly. What's going on, brother?
What's going on? How you doing?
Good, good. I'm very excited to drop this alpha that we have for everybody that I don't know if you dug up or somebody else dug up or if it was just lost in the ether somewhere, but why don't you drop it on us?
Yeah, so I mean, a long time ago, when the shop was rebuilt in New Tokyo by all of our friends, there was actually a arcade machine in the right-hand corner of the shop. And at the top of the arcade machine, it actually says 893. Now, what's mind-blowing about it is it's just so subtle and it's off to the side that nobody really gave it much attention. It was kind of like speculated on for a minute while it was like in the shop, and then it was just kind of missed and forgotten about. So it's like that alpha in plain sight that everybody just kind of like dismisses. But now, since we've seen the videos of the 893 Genesis, the Kagami videos, now there's a lot more tie-in and a lot more speculation as to what that could be. And the fact that we know that, Kagamis could be related to physicals and playing a game, now it kind of like connects a lot, at a bigger scale, if you will, right? So massive alpha. We dropped it in a space last week, actually. I think there was like 50 people and, we were like, send it. So
let's just do it. Yeah, 19 was talking trash. Shout out, brother, much love. But he was saying he's like all Cryptodilly and ABOMB do now is like shamelessly shill a Speculation Alley and don't even drop the actual Speculation Alpha. So Dilly was like, "Yo, bro, I'll drop this on you right here, right now." And he did. So way to come out and make plays, brother. But yeah, so this alpha, right? This oops, sorry, I'm knocking this around. This alpha from the arcade machine that was sort of like lost in the ether seems bizarre that we saw some of these things so long ago, but with 10KTF, they dropped the alpha in plain sight right in your face, and then they let some time go past so that people are kind of like, oh, maybe it wasn't true, or they just fucking forget about it. So it would seem like this would line up now as well. We've just finished season 1, and just to go back and sort of connect some dots for individuals, sort of how we like to speculate that Otherside and Yuga is directly connected to 10KTF. Let's do some of that. Bored Ape Yacht Club had a game come out a few months ago. It was Apes versus Mutants, and the top leaderboard participants from those games, apes or mutants, you had to own either one of those assets to participate. They essentially got physical items that were distributed out. Everything from stuffed Curtises, bongs, merch, candles, and even custom for the very top individuals. There's a custom pinball machine made for the top ape holder. I don't know who has that, but shout out to you. And there was some beatable Honda, like a 2002 Honda, that they just like tagged and made all disgusting for the top mutant holder. So shout out to whoever got that one. I think the pinball winner got a little bit better, but
I think it was some girl that got the car. And
really?
She posted it on Twitter and everything, and it was like, yeah, it was like completely destroyed, like 2002 Honda.
Yes, I love it. That is so hilarious. Like, fuck it. Like, you know what I mean? Drop in other deeds tomorrow, like pretty much their mentality. But yeah, how this kind of connects to, I guess, 10KTF is really what we want to get into. So we see that it's an 8-bit 2D arcade game, essentially 2D up, down, left, and right. Yeah, so you can't really, it's not very immersive with, the dimensions of everything, but it's a playable video game. And Yuga released that a few months ago, and they even has customized sort of attacks paired with your IP that was loaded in, whether it was a ape or mutant ape. There is a mega mutant that we showed in the video that's a shorter video of this, and actually posted it so you could see that the mega mutant's just laying down carnage on all these other like foes that it's fighting. With one hit, they're all dead, while meanwhile there's like another ape that's just like throwing a bunch of bottles, and it's having a hard time, killing all of its foes. So it was interesting to see that. There's even blue-eyed beamed apes that were shooting blue beams as their attack. So with that thought and seeing how long ago that was, and how even still Yuga had a sort of customized, tailored, experience, as most video games try to execute nowadays, is that even if two people played the same video game, they could have a very different experience. That being said, I would imagine we could see an 8-bit video game coming out, or something even more grand, which would be an actual player one shooter or adventure style game where you play as an avatar, might be WAGMI-San, our fearless protagonist, and go out and, you know, conquer these obstacles or these missions and essentially do a campaign run of that for some time. And those that take part in it and are the top leaderboards or whatever the heck will be given those physicals. So that's maybe speculation.
I think honestly, there's a lot of tie-ins here, right? So obviously we have like what we speculated on for the other side is definitely like some massive connections. Gaio Siri, we have, you know, obviously people making that relationship with BAYC to kind of explode them into the limelight. We have all these different connections with We New Labs and, you know, the development, and that we now know based off of Figgy's post from very recent that they're working on some Unreal Engine 5, you know, mechanics. And it says right there that it's like, you know, they're continuing to work on it. And I was then like, you know, told like, hey, this is emphasized, right? So Jake McPherson, you know, shout out to you, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm excited to see what you come up with. But there's been little subtle like hints towards this stuff throughout the storyline too. Something that Saskatoonsquatch actually pointed out in the actual super secret command center is that little board that was right in front of WAGMI-San where we actually got the combat crates and stuff. It actually had little like up, down, right, you know, left arrows in the form of like a game controller, right?
Right.
So we have some different connections like tied directly to game mechanics. But most importantly, like this arcade machine in the back right corner of the shop is obviously the direct tie-in. And that's something that was very similar to the way that the Bored Ape Yacht Club actually did their Apes versus Mutants like drop as well with the arcade machine. In the swamp, right, you actually have the clubhouse and they have this arcade machine where everybody was like, what is this? Like, what's it going to do? And nobody really knew. And then finally they get to that point in their roadmap and it's like there's this game and everybody's able to compete for these physical items. Now, we know that from a December post from 10KTF that, you know, to get physicals, you have to participate in the Battle for New Tokyo, right? And it's been long, you know, speculated that Kagami's will be a physical that's actually, you know, released and given to people. And what I foresee happening is actually, you know, people will participate in this game, right? And who knows what the game will look like, whether it's an arcade style game or if it's actually like a first person, right? But I think that very similar to the mechanics that we're seeing with Battletown, we're actually going to load in different actual items, right, into the slots. And by actually having that game mechanic, you have to be very wise and choose your items that you want to go into this battle very like specific to whatever the mission is. And by doing that, you're actually going to be rewarded. And that's why they're talking about point-based loadouts and, you know, maximizing your loadouts and doing all these different things, is because I think that we're actually going to be rewarded by actually participating in the Battle for New Tokyo with physicals. In the same way that BAYC actually rewarded their holders with, you know, the car and the pinball machine and different things like that. I think Kagami's are definitely at play. And to really like bring that full circle, Queso actually dug deep all the way back to We Knew Moments, where he actually tagged looks, and they actually liked the message and everything like that. And that's huge, because what these are, they're actually like customizable displays, like what you've seen Beeple give Joe Rogan, right? And they actually have like a hologram that lights up, or you can actually interchangeably put your NFT on display in your home. And it'd be very easy for you to actually like display your NFT on what the Kagamis actually look like. And you saw the Boss Ape actually pop up at the last image of that 893 Genesis video, right? So there's a lot of different overlap and correlation and what Kagamis could actually be used for. Maybe that's actually the way that we participate in the game, right? Or maybe the top 893 participants within this, you know, arcade game receive the Kagamis, right? Because it's long been like, what is 893? Is it Yakuza, right? Because that's what it stands for. Or is it something, you know, different? Is it the top 893 holders? Because obviously, 14,761 Genesis holders is a lot for, everybody to get one of these Kagamis, right? So, I mean, what are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I'm dead on with it all. I think that we went through season one. We know that from the December post, as you said, the way to get physicals is to participate in the battle for New Tokyo. Now, those were the physicals that we saw with those words connected to it, was Kagamis and physical sweaters like comfy hoodies and whatnot. So it would seem that would, again, just looking back at what Bored Ape Yacht Club has done and how that all went down, we've also seen a similar approach to what Bored Ape Yacht Club has done and 10KTF, in the sense that when the apes and mutants got their ape allocation, they immediately had an asset that was available to be minted that would then revert all of that ape right back to the initial people that just airdropped it out, which is combat crates for 10KTF. We got our ape allocation, and shortly thereafter, we had combat crates that were available to be minted. Wow, I can't even speak today. But again, looking at these mirrored approaches is sort of where I'm looking and how it's connected. Is it 893 people? I don't know. I sure shit don't think it's going to be 14,000 of those things, because that's quite a few of those to make. But,
I mean, I think that, it could be very well that you have a top leaderboard and like certain people get, a specific item that's like, higher value. And then you have like merch drops. Like we've seen the comfy hoodie video that has a very similar editing style to the Kagamis, right? That could very easily overlap.
We've also seen physicals. We saw the physicals at the parties.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's direct overlap with kind of this theory that we'll get physicals. But here's a wild speculation, right?
Bro, if I get some fucking high tops, man, I'm going to freak out or something like that.
Puma,
I'll
bro.
lose my shit.
Puma's in the – I mean, I know everybody wants Nike Air Force Ones, but, we got a relationship with Puma, and I suspect that to be the play. But here's another really big, connection that's very interesting. I don't think that – the 893 arcade machine is actually going to come into play till much later in the storyline. And here's the reason why. I think that there is such an overlap with the other side in 10KTF that they're going to bridge the story together. But each trip that we go in on the other side, we're actually going to get a little snippet of WAGMI-San or We Knew or something, right? In the first trip that we went on, we actually went on a scavenger hunt for 10 minutes, and it was to find somebody's glasses that lost them at NFT NYC, which happened to be WAGMI-San, right? And we've actually, had that speculation, but then Saboteur actually tweeted about it, a couple weeks after the event actually happened, basically confirming what we had thought. And it was obviously, if you know, because of the overlap with the other glasses mission on Battletown. But I think we're going to see the slow rollout within the other side as well. And I'm going to share my screen real quick, because I think that this is something that's extremely interesting, is the overlap with the Dream, which in the obelisk, if you actually go to the other side website and you read up on the different trips, we know that there's the different parts of these missions. And one of the actual trips that we're going to go on is called the Dream. Now, the reason that this is extremely important is the way that things are actually phrased within this. It says, an impossible arcade machine emerges at the center of the biogenic swamp. Use your trip wisely and be rewarded. Now, I don't want to take all the credit for this. This is something that press from the community actually kind of highlighted. And then I went in and researched it a little bit more. And there obviously isn't a lot to research on this point. But I think something that really stands out to me is how impossible is really highlighted with a question mark. And we know, then this might be a stretch, but Michael Figge is the founder and CEO of Possible Productions. And what we've seen is that Louis Vuitton, the game, they actually created that game. So it'd be very likely that, Possible Productions is actually working on this game. And they have already been building this out, that we're going to be playing on an arcade machine within the other side. And what this does is it actually makes it really interesting, because when you think about that dynamic, it relates so well with, the other side being a platform, right? When you think about the other side, a lot of people think of a game, but once you actually get in the platform, there's going to be, you know, ODKs, and people are going to be able to build out their own games within the game. So they need to already have developers that are actually working on different games that are being built out within their ecosystem to be able to show and highlight what you can do and what's possible. And what's great about that is that it says choose wisely and you'll be rewarded. What have we been like gaming on this whole time with Battletown? It's like the more that you actually allocate your points and optimize your loadouts, the higher your reward tier, right? And we've seen this because, you know, if you load in a lot of points, you actually get maybe a higher tier of material whenever they actually do a snapshot. So these snapshots are really important, but the more points that you actually allocate, the more you actually get as a reward, right? So they're kind of like, we're the guinea pigs and we're kind of being test dummies for this project. And they're slow rolling it out, but they were training us as these, you know, test users. We already know what to expect. So once we get to that point, we play this arcade game that pops up in the biogenic swamp within this Otherside for like trip. We're going to be ready to go. We'll know what to do, right? So I know this is like out there, but I think it's not. There's so many different connecting dots that it just, you know, it makes sense.
Well, and more so, like if we're thinking about the items that exist in this ecosystem and sort of how things are valued currently, and I go back to what Beeple said, where every item will have a place in this ecosystem, and I think about that, and it's kind of like, okay, if we're looking at certain items that are crafted, and as you just said, Dilly, like we're loading these things out, and the higher loadout you get, the more points you receive if you, you know, complete that mission. You know, successfully at least. So at the end of the day, that would then, I would imagine, take crafted items that, let's say somebody that can't even, you know, that doesn't even have some of these items, is like, oh wait, I can go play this video game. I'm going to go buy one of these so I can earn ApeCoin and slowly actually do a play to earn video game within the other side, as you said, because these, you know, ODKs will take place on top of the other side's original like platform and tech. But what's interesting as well is I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I'm going to take this speculation in sort of a different route that you may not be expecting, but is how do we onboard people that don't have thousands of dollars in Ethereum, right? Like how do you get somebody to do this? And a while back in the very same shop, Dilly, that you saw the arcade machine with the 893 on it, to the left, we saw scissors, long ass tape measure, hats, and day packs all on pedestals, right? And we assume like, oh, those are staked items. Like the tools we know are staked. So in the sense, like, why is the backpack and this date like
rentals, baby?
Panel, and that's where it goes. That's how you onboard people, where now you don't need thousands of dollars. You can rent this item just like on Steppen, which you showed me. You can rent your shoes out in the future and be able to gain 70% as the owner of the shoe. Whatever this person is walking wearing your shoe, you gain 70% of that total allotment, and they take 30. And that allows them to.
Sorry, I don't want to like cut you off, but please. I just did. I mean, one really interesting thing about that is something that Saskatoonsquatch also showed me. Shout out, brother. Tinfoil award winner.
Yeah, Sasquatch should just be here now. Where are you? Where are you?
But he pointed out, I think it's in the terms of service, which a lot of people, they don't read that. And I actually learned that from him while I was looking at Puma and different things like that. But, you know, WeNew has in their like terms of sale about rentals, right? And they also, one thing that we always dig into is also their patents and different things that they're looking at, you know, in the future. And so there's a lot of different things there that correlate to what you just said about that is part of their future. We already know that it's established. So you hit that on the money for sure.
I mean, isn't that wild though to think about how, again, and these two images, sorry, I get excited and I shake things. These two images were in the same exact shop at the same time. So it's just interesting to think that, like, again, if you are any type of individual, whether you're hands-on or hands-off, they're really allowing like from any spectrum to take part in this in whatever way you want, if we are correct. Obviously, this is all speculation, everybody. So
what's interesting is that image is actually the Discord banner for 10KTF right now. It hasn't gone away. But what's really interesting is, as far as onboarding, I think that we're so early in the project. I mean, we just finished out the first season, but this is definitely stuff that's going to be much later on. And who knows how long the Otherside platform is going to be built out. But within that, I really do believe that, we knew in 10KTF, they're very conscious of helping everybody thrive in this ecosystem, right? WAGMI means we're going to make it, right? And so they need to help the little guy just as much as the whales.
Means we're all going to make it.
We are. And the big thing about that is that obviously, holders, the people that are, first adopters, early adopters, I feel like they're going to always continually to be rewarded. Genesis is king, not financial advice, of course, but, I bought a Genesis rare today. You're welcome. But with that being said, I think that obviously that comes into play too, right? I've been speculating for, a while now, along with some of the other community members that, obviously Genesis is king. And I think that formulates directly from Nikki's, Discord comment that says that it will always be king.
Queen Nikki, come on.
Yeah. With that Discord message, I mean, I can't leave it alone. Like I think it's true to the point where, I've invested a lot of my resources to actually doing that. And the big thing that I think is going to happen is each season, I think that Genesis holders will actually be allocated materials, and it explains the ape allocation as well, because with ape allocation, right, we're able to claim on October 13th, right? So as you're able to claim those ape tokens, it would make sense that you're also able to then craft your PFP onto these materials or create more blanks or whatever, because you're spending ape, right? And that also directly ties right back into the Otherside ecosystem, as well as you got to think we're spending ape and we're using ape and we're doing everything in ape token. And so having those direct ties and the correlation to game mechanics that are actually taking place throughout this, it makes sense that that would also be used in this game as well. And something that I think we should definitely touch on is the way that game mechanics could potentially work, right? Like, I think something that you pointed out is the fact that day packs are, there's only one item in that slot, right? It hasn't been replaced. There's no alternative. And in games, what do you use a backpack for? Inventory, right? And so this also factors into taking away, the advantage to whales whenever you go into a game, right? Because if you're only able to take a certain number of items into a mission, it makes it so that way it's a more even playing field for everybody to actually play and participate. So if you have combat boots, you have a Kevlar helmet, you have, the vest, whatever it is, and you have a backpack, that expands your inventory and you can add more items into it. And based on the rarity tier, you could also maybe have more slots that you could add different items into, right? So if you have an uncommon day pack, maybe it adds 2 slots. If you have a rare, it adds 3, right? So it gives you more opportunity that, whenever you get to a certain point in a game or a mission, that you have the items available, like the sword, to be able to actually like fight somebody rather than a sock full of doorknobs, maybe, or you don't have a weapon, right? You're just kind of caught with your pants down.
See, and this is, I always get caught with my pants down, obviously. I mean, look at me. But, this is where it gets interesting, because as we've sort of discussed in the background, those elements, and if that were to come into play, how interesting it would be, again, what would happen to some of these crafted items. Because as you just said, Genesis is king, right? So crafted items and sometimes are overlooked and not really seen as valuable. But now it would seem that, okay, well, if I need a pair of like high tops or whatever, I'll just go grab some, because I can't get past this level. Furthermore, wondering, like, if it's saying use your trip wisely, I would imagine you might be paying 8 coin a little bit or something like that, because what do we do with arcade machines? You enter a fucking quarter in to play the game. So if you have to pay to play, you're really going to want to be like, okay, if there's a lava pit floor, I love using this example. I love lava. Just be ready, everybody. So if there's a lava floor in this you know, level of some sort in this campaign or this arcade machine, and you have no shoes on your feet, you may fail that level over and over and over and realize, like, I'm going to be wasting money every time I'm inserting my 8 coin or my quarter, theoretically speaking, into the arcade machine if I don't have this item. So therefore, that would, in my opinion, this is not financial advice, cause crafted items to rise. You know what I mean? And also crafting materials and everything would go up at that point and they don't really need to then introduce any more new items, because then you have sort of a set ecosystem for right now anyways that is very, it's a well-oiled machine. Like you need these materials to craft this item. That item's gonna be used in this video game. If you don't have that, you're gonna fucking die because the lava floor. So, well, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that's interesting. I think what we've seen is that obviously this team is thinking on such a much larger scale, right? So I think obviously we have the speculation that Ranga and Mutant Hounds are definitely going to be parent projects that are added into the ecosystem, right? And so at what point do these projects get added in? And what I've seen is a theme of them adding like 3 parent projects at a time. And whenever that happens, obviously we see an influx of sales within the stock room. People are buying up materials, crafting blanks, making different things happen. So that way they can craft their PFP onto these items. So when that happens, as the material supply actually reduces and the number of parent projects increases, you need to actually have more supply of materials. So I think that's where the Genesis dynamic actually works. But also then you also have, you know, once the game rolls out, it creates the demand for the crafted items as well. And I think that's a perfect ecosystem for, you know, what they're building at a scale, right? And when you think of engagement, like you want to have, from a marketing perspective, to attract businesses into the ecosystem, you want to have people returning to play the game. You want people that are returning for engagement, because if you can actually get eyes on the project and you can actually guarantee a specific number of individuals are going to participate every single week in that event or whatever that is mad money for Web2 companies to come into the Web3 space. And, you know, we know that the blockchain technology is going to be adopted in so many different ways. And obviously mass adoption is actually going to happen subconsciously. People are going to join the space without even realizing that they're using the blockchain. And it could be that we actually change the way that we talk about NFTs, because it is like the wild, wild west right now. But I think of like, you know, NFTs almost like early internet days. How easy was it to use the internet? You'd have to like get a mail-in AOL like disk and like plug it into your computer for 15 minutes to play around on the internet. That sounds complicated, awful, and then it would like beep at you, and you had slow dial-up internet. It took like 5 minutes to load a screen. Now it's easy, right? Like we can do it on our phones. So crypto will become the same in the way that you don't even realize that you're actually using the technology every day whenever you actually are. And I think that game mechanic is going to be, like you were talking about earlier, the way that most people do mass adopt the technology itself.
Through games. And that's, I think gamers, I mean, I have one of my best friends and business partners that lives aside from you, obviously, but he lives here in LA with me, and we would be working together, and I'd hear knocks on his door every day. Like I'd go over to his house and we'd work together. And I was like, it's this little kid every day. And he's like, hey, can you give me $20 for V-Bucks? Can you give me 20? Can you like just use your credit card and buy me these V-Bucks and it'll be on my account? And I was like, what the hell is this kid talking about? What are V-Bucks? Like, and like we learned about it. I was like, oh my God. Like, so now imagine that with ApeCoin. Like if this kid's
that's
like,
the tokenomics right there, dude. Yeah.
I need ApeCoin to play the arcade game. Also, I need a little bit more ApeCoin. This person, I'm the little kid asking my friend, please, for more ApeCoin so that I can then rent this item. Or maybe you don't need to pay. You will just get, again, you'll have to give that total allotment or a certain amount of your total that you get in this video game to somebody. So if, again, thinking about how you onboard everyone, there's people in this space who are not gamers at all. And I am a gamer. I love video games. But the thing of it is that they can still take place. And if there's somebody like me that's like okay at the video game and I make a decent amount of points every time I play, somebody be like, yeah, bro, like I have epics, like take my epic and I'll get more points. You know what I mean? And you can get more points too. It's just like now you have like this symbiosis relationship too that's taking place. And again, with Warm Wallet that just dropped, being able to give somebody access to an asset, which then they cannot actually take out of your wallet, but they have the ability to like load it into this game. That's there you go. Like, again, sorry, I'm getting excited again. They just literally have set so many things up and been, as you said, sort of training the guinea pigs as we are to get ready for this next phase, in my opinion. And since season 1 just ended, I think they're going to need some time to do some of the other things that, you know, for season 2, like storyline and everything else that's going to take place. So I'm wondering, are we going to be playing this video game in the meantime to sort of keep us, you know, entertained while they're working on it in the back? What do you think?
I think what's really interesting too is that a lot of people don't talk about the investors and like the backing that, you know, We Knew Labs actually has. When you look at the investors that are behind the scenes for, you know, 10KTF, you have this wide variety of resources. And when I look at the credits for the final like season finale video, you look at like Line Productions, you look at all these different gaming partners, the different animation studios that are involved with 10KTF. They have their hands like, and you know, the network to be able to actually like run this project. And Figgy, man, that guy has to be a superhero. He like doing all kinds of different stuff all at once. Like he's just like the man behind the curtain and making stuff happen. And it's obviously, you know, a lot of a juggling act, but you know, it's so strategic in the way that they built this out and they're telling a story while also being able to actually do the game. And I think really, it is unique to tie it back to, you know, Fortnite, and Herman Norella is probably going to kill me for saying that. But, you know, the way that you have the interoperability with the game mechanics and the tokenomics, you need to actually not just release a token, but you also need to have a way for people to spend that currency, right? And I think that's the biggest issue with a lot of these projects is they have these tokens that then you can convert to fiat. So a lot of people, they earn them and then they just immediately dish them, you know, back to fiat. And so it's like a churn and burn cycle, right? Whereas with the Otherside platform, when you start to onboard all these different games, you actually have people that are meeting up. And something that blew my mind was something you said, where you have your cousin that goes into Fortnite and just hangs out, doesn't even play the game.
Doesn't play the game.
Like when you think about that, and then also like thinking about like crafting and resources and everything as far as what we're going to be able to use Ape for. I mean, not financial advice, but I mean, even with staking with coming out October 30th, that's going to be massive for Ape and the way that we actually utilize the currency moving forward.
Well, see, that's another interesting thing to really get into here is like we have gotten the ability to actually stake and earn ApeCoin before apes or mutant apes did. Like I was talking to Dylan Card, shout out Down to Earth. I was literally talking to him today, and that's how we got onto the subject of like how do you get somebody that doesn't have $10,000 in their wallet or X amount of money to come and like get involved in this by having items that they can use in the video game staked, and then they can go to, and what are you earning? ApeCoin and yada, yada, yada. Who the hell are we fighting, right? Who are we going to be battling? Well,
good point.
As you said, the story that they've been telling, the narrative that they've been unveiling to us, we already have antagonists. We have Boss Ape, Boss Toad, Boss Wolf, Boss Gutter Gang, and all these other like Boss Wolf or Boss Ape potentially. So these are all individuals that we could see ourselves in an actual video game. Again, whether it's the old school 8-bit arcade style or what I would prefer, first player shooter style adventure game. But hey, We Knew, you do what you guys got to do. I'll just be here to play it either way. But at the end of the day, seeing that they have all of the elements, as I was just saying, the storyline pieces, the tokenomic pieces, the community, the assets, like all of these things perfectly coming together to make a nice little pot of stew. If you don't, if you get what I'm saying, those are my thoughts on it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, they've been telling us the story. And I think that, you know, I really don't think Boss Wolf actually has had a very large, role in what's been going on. He's been obviously helping to onboard people by actually, handing out Genesis items to press and having him host spaces. Shout out press for the educator award from the Damn Show. And
well done.
Obviously with all that, we don't really know, like he's obviously been building his army, right? And so the lore behind that, we really haven't seen that come to fruition. We've really had Boss Toad as the main antagonist, which it seems like he's kind of converted over to, helping out WAGMI-San a little bit more. So I think in the future for this next season, we might see a new antagonist arise, along with some of the same, people in that dynamic, but it gives a perfect build out for, like you were saying, the arcade game. And I think everything obviously correlates directly back to the question of what are Kagamis and how are they going to come into play. And one thing that has been an interesting theory to kind of like talk about is what if Kagamis actually are a way for you to actually like have your PFP physically, but that PFP is what actually correlates directly to in-game mechanics as well.
Right.
So if that is something that we have to use that almost as a portal or a bridge from Web 2 to, or not Web 2, from IRL to Web 3, that could be something that's really interesting as well. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to think about here.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's also what that we've been looking at with the phone, eventually being able to access Battletown on your phone, which they've said is coming soon. So seeing sort of different ways that they can actually put this platform in different places, such as a Kagami, if that's the case, and whatnot. Like, it's going to get really interesting, but I'm just like, I don't know who found it. I don't know if it was you or somebody else that found the 893 on the arcade machine, but now, like, as of recently, it just stirred up a whole lot of a mess of stuff, obviously, in my brain, and I'm getting excited again. But
well, and I think we could make several videos talking about the way game mechanics could actually really work. And I think that's something that we definitely dive deeper into. But yeah, I think this is a good baseline to really give people a good understanding of the speculation of what is to come and what we think will actually play out with the arcade machine. I definitely think physicals are going to come from that for sure. At what point in the timeline, I don't know, but these are master storytellers. And I think that we're going to be on a journey where, we're dragged along the way and we're kept guessing the whole time. And that's what makes 10KTF such an amazing project.
Yeah, 100%, brother. Well, again, shout out to you for spotting it when you did, or whoever was the first person. You got my salute. But yeah, game coming soon, I would speculate. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm so ready for it, though. I'm so down. Let's get down, bro. I'll play. And that's another thing. Before we leave you, just one more thing on the table. Could we play as different avatars? Could we play as our own avatars? Is it just going to be WAGMI-San? Could it be Wenmoon? Who knows? But only time will tell.
Yeah, only time will tell. And that's for certain. I think that we caught a glimpse of that game, obviously, and I want to bring that up. Obviously, WAGMI-San, first person going to the red mailbox. I don't know if it will be that advanced of a game, but we've seen what they've been able to do with the Louis Vuitton game, and I think that it'd be very possible for possible productions to put something into play just like that. So yeah, I think that's a good ending point for this episode of Speculation Alley. Just to kind of cap things off, we are Speculation Alley. My name is Cryptodilly with ABOMB here, my co-host. We host this YouTube, on Spotify as well. If you guys want to go follow us on Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts. We drop the actual audio version of this every single week, and it happens on Wednesdays. So check that out. If you're not already subscribed to our channel, ring the bell and leave a comment what you guys think of the arcade machine and what future game mechanics could actually come into play with the arcade machine, or even the connection to the other side and how that's all going to play out with the interoperability within games. So super excited about what's to come. But that is it for this week's episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one.